John David Smith, and this is the CoMission Podcast. You know, oftentimes we talk about mission work. We know that it is a given that it takes funds or financial resources to carry out a global missions program. In the BMA of America, our people and our churches have always been faithful to give. Today we want to address some of the issues involved in the financial atmosphere or environment or reality of our missions program here in the BMA. Today we want to talk specifically about scarcity mentality and how much it has infiltrated our thinking as Christians and our giving. Stephen Covey defined scarcity as the belief that in all things material there is like one big pie and I've got to do everything possible to get the biggest piece of that pie. Unfortunately, a scarcity mentality is characterized by selfishness, by faithlessness, and by shallow and unethical techniques to acquire those things that I want. Contrasting a scarcity mentality is the mentality of abundance. And abundance, of course, is rooted in the belief that our God is infinitely abundant. The statistics show that the average American family has 91% of their income committed every month. And so the only discretionary part of their funds would be 9%. And it's said that out of that 9%, they will decide to watch a movie, buy a pizza, or give a little to God. So even though Americans make way more dollars than they made, say, in the 1960s, American believers give way less percentage-wise to the church and to missions. In Matthew chapter 19, Peter asked a very poignant question when he said, "Jesus, we've forsaken all. What are we going to gain in return?" And Jesus Christ went into the parable of the workers in the vineyard and how the master hired some at different hours of the day. And when the pay time came at the end of the day, what happened was they all received the same amount, even those who had worked less. Obviously, the ones who had been hired in the morning began to question that. And of course, the master replied, "I paid to you exactly what I promised to pay to you." For all of us in the West who have grown up with an entitlement mentality, our first response to that would be, "That's not fair." But you know, Jesus' response in this particular parable was, "Hey, I never told you I would be fair, but I am generous." And I think that we would all take the generosity of our God over His fairness any day. Well, the lesson for us is that we need to be generous. We need to be faithful stewards. We need to trust God. We need to believe that our God is infinitely abundant and then give accordingly. We know that our God's resources, we say it anyway, that they are unlimited, and yet we live as if we are definitely living by a scarcity mentality. We need definitely here in the BMA Missions Office to see our people begin to have a lifestyle of stewardship that's based on the abundance of God and not the scarcity of the things that we see. We do need to see our missions giving increase, but I don't believe that that's going to happen with the missions department putting a guilt trip on you or using some power-packed, latest, greatest marketing technique. It's going to happen when our people mature and become faithful stewards. We'll have more to say about abundance and scarcity in future podcasts. Thank you for tuning in and listening today. This has been the CoMission Podcast.